everybody? Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. Of course, your host, David. On point right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. We're going to be breaking down that Atlantic Division in the NBA today as it's a double dose of Weekend Prime. For you, right before you get started watching the NFL action, break down a little NBA action. I've also shared the StreamYard link into all of the places. So if you want to join us and talk a little NBA, more than welcome to do so. Of course, if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, we come to the right place. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Happy Sunday, TJ's Football Sunday. It's so good that football is back in our lives.
Yeah. I miss it when it's gone.
me too, for sure.
It's already week 3. It's going by too fast.
It's true. It's true. In high school football, it's always like past the midway point of the season, like because I shoot high school games for the station I work at. But yeah, that's almost over too, so that's kind of depressing. But let's talk about the Atlantic Division in the NBA. Obviously the Boston Celtics went to the finals and lost there to the Golden State Warriors, which is a team we will focus on next week. But for this week, let's talk a bit about the Atlantic. Let's first talk about this Emami Udoka stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, he is going to be suspended for this entire season, if not fired at some point between here and the start of next season. Let's try to stick to the basketball side of this, outside of because it's their personal lives. I mean, it is what it is. But let's talk about basketball when it comes to this.
It's kind of hard to
Yeah.
talk about, to just keep it at basketball, because how they handled this situation, because like when you talk about him being suspended and him being possibly being fired, that does that is basketball. Like, that's his job.
It's true.
What I don't like about that is, why are you suspending him just to fire him if that's what you're going to do?
I think I don't think he's gonna. I would be actually a little bit shocked if he got fired at this point. But I mean,
Right,
suspended. If you're gonna suspend him, we might as well just fire him if you're gonna do that anyway.
If you're gonna fire me, fire me. Don't pussyfoot around. Don't play games. Don't leave me in limbo for a whole year. If you're gonna fire me, fire me. Right? And it's kind of a selfish way of doing it, because by suspending him, no other team can talk to Ime Udoka. Nobody, he can't talk to nobody. Nobody can talk to him. So you're retaining his coaching rights for a year without using him, just to fire him if you're going to do that in a year. I don't like that. Like, that's poorly handled. This whole situation on the Boston Celtics front is poorly handled. For Brad Stevens and I know his last name is Wick, but I can't think of his first name, the owner of the Celtics.
1 second, I'll get that for you.
For Brad Stevens and you got it?
Hold on a second.
Excuse me.
No, I'm having a hard. Just continue. Anyways, continue. I'm looking up the names.
Like, for Brad Stevens and Wick to be like, "Oh, this leak didn't come from the Boston Celtics." Then who did it come from? All right, it didn't come from you. Udoka didn't say anything. The alleged people involved, like the alleged women involved, didn't say anything. So this had to come from inside your organization, right? Like, that's like, no, like, you got to clean house. Like, you got to do some, not clean house, but you got to do some house cleaning. All right, you got to nip that in the bud, because for you to come out and basically lie to the people, saying, "Oh, this leak didn't come from us," then who did it come from? Who else had this information? Right? Like if you want to say it didn't come from me, like me being Brad Stevens, then yeah, like you can say that, because like you didn't say anything. If the owner wants to say it didn't come from me, then yeah, you can say it. But to say it didn't come from the organization is, yeah, like that. Wick Gruseback, like, so it like that's
Wick Gruseback, yeah.
So they had their little press conference. They had their little, you did to show face, and they also let it be known, and I don't know if they did this on purpose, but they also let it be known that Udoka is the only one being reprimanded. He's the only one in trouble.
It's true. The woman
How?
the woman involved in this has, as far as we know, has not been any kind of
Rep-
disciplinary action.
How? All right, it takes two to tango. Now, for
I
y'all,
mean, because Boston's treating it like this is like an harassment, but it's for sure not. Like
it's not.
it's
This
not.
so
This is
so like
consensual between two adults.
so like and Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams, they both like they made that abundantly clear. Every time every alert I got from Bleacher Report, ESPN, Twitter, you name the sporting outlet, I got the alert. The words intimate and consensual were in every headline. Now y'all want to backtrack and say it wasn't consensual. Like, no, oh no, you don't get to do that. You can't say that now. These were two adults who knew what they were doing. Now, and leave it at that. Like, don't say it was like just because you were in trouble or you fear you losing your job. Don't say it wasn't. Don't say it wasn't consensual because that makes you look bad.
It's
Now,
true.
I'm not. Now, again, I'm not saying I'm not absolving Ime Udoka of any blame. Right? He did what he did. He was wrong. Right? Like he violated team policy. That's wrong. But in what world does an HR situation ever get leaked to like, oh, this person's suspended for this amount of time, and we're gonna tell you why they're suspended? Like, no, you literally just say this person's suspended. Why are they suspended? They violated team policy.
Yep.
You leave it
But
at that.
I think the problem is that the NBA is so public. Let's talk about the other teams in this division real quick. Obviously, Philadelphia 76ers always kind of a head runner to be title contender. Toronto,
Mhm.
real surprise team last season. Obviously, the Knicks are the Knicks,
The
and
Knicks.
the Brooklyn Nets are obviously Brooklyn. But yeah, all these other teams, who do you find the most interesting of the other four? And then we'll get into Boston here in a second.
Obviously it's Brooklyn, man. They got the most riding. They got they were like my fingers can't get no closer without them actually touching.
Yeah.
Like they were like this close to losing KD and both KD and Kyrie.
I mean, we're not that far from being that far away from being in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And that was 2 years
Really,
ago
it
now.
wasn't that long ago. So,
Like,
um,
so yeah, it's definitely them, and obviously right behind them is Philly. You got the MVP, the guy who feel like he should have an MVP
two.
this, well, at least one, like at least this past one. A lot of people saying Embiid got robbed of at least this past MVP, but you get Joel Embiid, you get Harden for a full season. Tobias Harris, bruh, come with it, because if you don't, this is it for you in Philly. Like they are not playing.
That's true.
Uh, Doc Rivers could also be out. Keep an eye. I brought that up on when we did our free agency pod with the fellas from JCA. I would not be surprised if Doc's out, Mike D'Antoni in. Like, keep an eye out on that. You heard it here first. I'm not just blowing smoke. And Toronto, just keep progressing. You gotta. I thought Siakam would have been moved by now, but you
I
probably
think they're rolling with it, man. I don't think they're
yeah.
planning on I don't think they're planning on moving any of those guys. Let's talk about the Boston Celtics. So obviously the starting lineup, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Robert Williams III. I don't believe he'll start at least not for the beginning of the season. He had arthroscopic knee surgery on his left knee this week at some point. So he's probably looking at a 3 or 4 week timetable for recovery on that.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure what they'll do with the starting lineup. They may move Grant Williams into the starting lineup just to
That's
make
what I was
sense.
thinking.
But the key reserves, Malcolm Brogdon they traded for in the offseason, Grant Williams, who I just mentioned, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Danilo Gallinari, who tore his ACL, will not be a factor on this team. And then Luke Cornett is a backup big, I guess. And then head coach is Joe Mazzulla. If you do not know who Joe is, he was a G League head coach in the G League. He played a little college basketball at West Virginia. In 2008, he is 34 years old. This will be his first big-time NBA coaching job.
And
Um,
what a way to get it, right?
Yeah, for sure. 51-31 was their record last season. They were the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference last year, just behind the Miami Heat.
Oh yeah, obviously losing Robert Williams for about 2 months. That's
I wouldn't say 2 months. I think it'd be like 2 or 3 weeks.
No, it's longer than that, ain't it?
It's just a scope. I don't think it'll be. It'll be I would put the timeline like a month. It's a very similar operation that Lonzo Ball went through.
Well, he hasn't had the surgery yet. That's the thing.
Oh, 8 to 12 weeks. Sorry, 8 to 12. Yeah, that's gonna be that is a long
2 months.
3, yeah, 3. I guess I didn't realize the severity of the. I thought they were just having it scoped.
No, that's too. That's his. Like that's Robert Williams' procedure. Like the 8 to 12 weeks. So yeah, losing Robert Williams for anywhere from 2 to 3 months that's crucial.
Man, that guy cannot catch a break. I swear, dude.
Like and like you already know what he means to that team. Like when
he's their best defensive player by far.
Their rim protection is lights out. Like he alters so many shots. But so to answer your question about the starting 5, would you be upset if they trotted out, like a Brogdon, Smart, Tatum, Brown, Horford?
No, I like that too. I just think Grant Williams gives you a little more floor spacing to let Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum operate in the paint a little bit. Because Grant Williams is such a good 3-point shooter, or at least he was in the playoffs.
Well, Brogdon brings in that he's that facilitator, right? Like Brogdon, don't any scoring you get from Malcolm Brogdon is the icing on the cake. So and that's a good 12 to 15 points you can get out of Malcolm Brogdon on a good day.
Yeah.
So, but I can definitely see them just because of continuity, rapport, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Grant Williams, Al Horford. Yeah, so I can see that. That's probably also the more likely starting 5.
Yeah, I think they'll let Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White come off the bench and kind of operate it in that second unit with I guess Luke Cornett and Braden Pritchard, who all kind of play guard. That's a small lineup to come off your bench, but
which is also why I think at some variation of one of those starters, Tatum or Brown, are going to run with that second unit.
It'll probably be Jalen Brown,
just to give them some more size. And Joe Mazzulla, I get it. Like you're the interim head coach, but you got your past transgressions too, which we're not going to get into because it's enough, right? Like
I mean, it happened in 2009, so we're gonna drag the guy through the mud.
Right, it's
10 years later.
Right, it's enough. I just don't like how they handled that situation. I
don't think anybody does. They've handled it bad. So
obviously, so season storylines outside of the obvious, right? Outside of the Udoka storyline. I was so you got to go back. Like you went to the finals. You got to prove that wasn't a fluke. Anybody can go to the finals one time.
Yep.
Anybody can go to the finals one time.
I mean, ask the Orlando Magic what happened with that. Go to the finals one time, never sniff it ever again.
Literally, ask Patrick Ewing. I think Patrick Ewing went to the finals once, maybe twice.
Yep. Once.
Yeah,
I mean Reggie Miller went once. I mean, once. Yeah, never went back.
Yeah, 2000. Year 2000.
Yep.
So
I think the other interesting storyline here is the Jalen Brown stuff. So he was obviously put into trade rumors a little bit for the Kevin Durant stuff. Also, we'll get to Brooklyn, but I don't think they ever planned to trade Kevin Durant. I think they were working that situation the whole time. But yeah, I think that because of Jalen Brown, are they going to be looking to move him even because of he's not going to sign an extension because it doesn't make any sense to do so right now. If he waits until his contract is officially over, he'll be eligible for more money in 2 years as opposed to signing an extension between there. So they're going to have to be kind of in limbo, Jalen Brown, up until his contract until he either signs the extension or goes to free agency or re-signs with them. So I'd be interested to see what they do with Jalen Brown because he's such an integral part, and he was the best player in their finals run last year, at least in the finals, by far.
Well, if I'm Jalen Brown, I kind of look at this like like a here we go again type thing. Like this ain't the first time Jalen Brown been in trade talks. He was in trade talks for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Right? He
Yeah.
was in trade talks for James Harden. Now Kevin Durant. So that's 3 times Buddy been in trade talks, man. It gets tiring and it gets annoying and it gets to the point where it's like, you know what? All right, here we go again. F it, right? Because if I'm Jalen Brown in his camp, you know what? You could have traded me when I was a rookie or a sophomore for a better player at the time in Jimmy Butler. You didn't do it. You could have traded me for a better player at the time, arguably, in James Harden. You didn't do it. You could have traded me for Kevin Durant. You didn't do it. So you're not gonna do it, right? So if I'm Jalen Brown and I'm his camp, that's what I'm going in. That's every time my name's in trade talks. Man, you could have traded me 3, 4, 5 times over. You didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go. If I'm him, I'm approaching it like that. But again, it gets annoying and it gets tiring because at some point in time, like you can have that mind, you can have that mentality and that mindset, but after a while, it has to be like,
Why don't they want me?
Yes, like why is my name always in the goddamn trade talks?
I mean, if you guys think you can just upgrade over it, we think you can find a better player than me. I'll just walk and you see if you can figure it out in free agency. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously the season, other storylines, as you mentioned, yeah, you went to the finals. Now go back to the finals. That's what you got to do here with Boston. They have the talent. They made some really good, savvy moves in the offseason. If they had Danilo Gallinari, this would be a really interesting team. Unfortunately, obviously, he got hurt in the Euros, so he's going to be unavailable for this season. Let's talk best and worst case scenario when it comes to Boston.
Best case scenario, you go back to the finals and you win. Again, if I'm a Boston, if I'm a player on this team, we let one get away. We should have beat Golden State 4-1.
Yep.
Keep it all the way 100. Warriors fans, I don't care what you gotta say. They let one get away. Like they won. What was it? Game 2. They let one get away in game 2. Game 4, they let one get away. And what was it? Was it game 5?
Yeah, game 4 is the game that Steph Curry went nuts. And then in game 5, they let that game slip away too. So they could easily, that should have been a series they for sure should have won.
4-1.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Not so you won game, like you stole game 1 because Jason Tatum was terrible. Jason Tatum shot 3 for 17 in game 1 and you won. Like you won that game. Like game 5 in Golden State, you just got ran off the court because that's when Jordan Poole hit that half court shot to make it like a 20-point lead, and it was like, yep, wave the white flag. That's it. That's all. Yeah, like best case scenario, go back to the finals and win. All right, I am so tired when they get on like not first take, undisputed, and they talk about the Lakers and like, oh, it's pressure playing for the Lakers. Do you not think it's pressure playing for the Boston Celtics, who have
just as many banners as the Lakers do,
and just as many retired numbers? You don't think Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown feel the ghost of Larry Bird walking through that mall? Because it's like, hey, it's pressure. It is pressure. Like the championship pressure and expectations is not synonymous with just the Lakers. So like, I'm really gonna need them to lose that, right? Like, oh, it's the Lakers. This is expectations. No, this is Boston.
I mean, the expectations for the Lakers are you're gonna stink, and then sometimes you'll win a title. Like that's for real. Like how it goes. Like they've been either terrible or in the title picture. Like there's been very little in between.
Like so, it is super. Like it's probably even more pressure in Boston. Like Red Auerbach. Like when you think of Boston, like you think of the names: Red Auerbach, Larry Bird, Bill Russell. And shout out to them. They painted the number 6 in the free throw paint area. So like shout out to them. All right. I don't know if they're doing like any like kind of patchwork, like a 6 patch on the jersey or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And they're doing something else on the court too, I think. But yeah, it's gonna be the tribute to Bill Russell season for sure.
And what better way to cap off a Bill Russell tribute season than by hoisting a Larry O'Brien and either Tatum or Brown hoisting the Bill Russell Finals MVP award?
Yeah, me and you are the same wavelength when it comes to best case scenario. Yeah, they go to the finals and they win. I think worst case scenario, I still think they're a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I can't picture 14, at least 4 teams. I think they're any better than them. They should be at least in the semis for sure.
Yeah, worst case
So
scenario like that, and they let this Udoka
yeah,
situation hang over their heads for most of the season. Because I get Joe Mazzulla, like he's been there, I don't know how long, but he's not Udoka, right? He
no.
can try to implement Udoka's coaching system and format all that whatnot, but he's not him. And that's the thing with Joe Mazzulla. Be Joe Mazzulla. Don't try to be Ime Udoka.
So he's been an assistant on that coach since 2019. So he's pretty familiar with these players. This is actually being an assistant in Boston was his first NBA coaching job. Before that, he was in college at Fairmont State, a college I've never heard of before. Moving on from the Boston Celtics, we got the Philadelphia 76ers. Their starting lineup: Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, PJ Tucker, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. Key deserves. They traded for D'Anthony Melton. Matisse Thybulle, Daniel House is down in free agency, Montrezl Harrell, free agency, Paul Reed, Shake Milton, Furfran Korkmaz, and then Jordy Dang, head coach Doc Rivers. Record last season 51-31. Let's talk some storylines. I think the major storyline here is Joel Embiid and his MVP chase, right?
Yeah.
And the health of James Harden, because if they can get back to like 80% of Houston Rocket James Harden, I think TJ just froze up on me. But yeah, I think that's, James Harden is the major storyline here when it comes to Houston, when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah, TJ for sure froze. That's all good. But yeah, I think, if you can get back to like 75% of what James Harden was when he was a member of the Houston Rockets, I think that would be a win for the Philadelphia 76ers because he hasn't been healthy basically since he tried to work through that hamstring injury. It didn't go well. Now that he's back, last season in Brooklyn was pretty rough. His down the stretch run in Philadelphia last season was pretty rough as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of James Harden, because they need James Harden. I mean, he took a pretty nice discount to stay there. So let's see what ends up happening. If you watch the Philadelphia game against the Minnesota Vikings from this past weekend or Monday night, James Harden was actually at the sidelines and actually got the Darius Slay interception ball from Darius Slay, obviously. But yeah, James Harden needs to come back and prove that he's 80% of the Houston Rocket James Harden, the guy who was winning the MVP, who was like arguably the best scorer in the NBA. So we'll see what ends up happening there with James Harden. And then it's Joel Embiid. This guy feels like he's been robbed of the MVP 2 years in a row, at least last year for sure. So I think he's going to be looking to win an MVP. I think he's going to win the MVP. He's the most dominant force we have in the NBA today. I don't think it's all that close. Like he's pretty hard to guard. He's a defensive good player on the defensive side of the ball. And PJ Tucker gives them some really nice, just glue guy, energy glue guy that can shoot the three, can stretch the floor a little bit. He's kind of like Danny Green, only a little bit bigger. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on when it comes to their starting lineup. I love the D'Anthony Melton trade. They just basically benefited by the fact that the Memphis Grizzlies couldn't afford to keep that roster together, so they had to trade some of the pieces they were using a little bit. But D'Anthony Melton's a pretty good player, so we'll see how that ends up going for Philadelphia 76ers. Daniel House Jr., somebody who was a good player in Houston when he was there. He could really shoot. He can defend a little bit. Montrezl Harrell, an entry guy, who's a good player as well. But for me, the storylines here is the Doc Rivers storyline. We talked about this a little bit in the intro. Hey, baby, what's up? Where you been? And my cat's here. Anyways, back to Montrezl Harrell. Yeah, so energy hustle guy. Not going to play a whole lot of defense. He's going to give you some effort plays on the offense. The great thing about him is you don't have to really run a lot of stuff for him. He'll just fit into your offense. I like Shake Milton. He kind of is scoring wing. Overall, this is a pretty interesting roster. Doc Rivers has come up short with rosters as talented as this before. You think about all those teams in LA when you had the Lob City. Those teams never made it to where they were supposed to go through various injuries between Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan be a little bit washed. But this is a Sixers team that should be a front runner for to win it all. They have talent all three levels. They have a good roster. They have good depth, and they have a good coach when he's on his buddy. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that they are a dark horse. Not even a dark horse. They should be in the finals competition. They should be the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and Joel Embiid should be the MVP of the league. That's just the way it should go. I can't think of any other season storylines right now, but best and worst case scenario for the Philadelphia 76ers. Best case scenario for the Sixers, they win it all. I think that's a realistic expectation for the Philadelphia 76ers is that this team ends up winning the title when it's all said and done. That's probably the way it'll go. Worst case scenario is probably them being a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. I can't see them falling any further than that. The only way I could really see that is if James Harden just never gets back to being the guy he used to be, which is something that isn't out of the realm of possibilities. But I just don't think he's going to be. I just think that the Sixers are going to be too good on offense, too good on defense. They'll be talented and they'll be a good team, and they're going to be a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's their worst case scenario. Their ceiling is extremely high. Their floor is also extremely high. This is a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, no matter what happens. Even if James Harden doesn't get back to 80% of Houston Rocket James Harden, there's still going to be a threat to come out of the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid is that good, and Tobias Harris. Kudos, bro. You got paid. Now start playing like a guy who's on a max contract because you have not done that at all since you got to Phil. At least not since you signed that offer sheet. So we'll see what ends up happening with the Philadelphia 76ers, 51-31. I think they'll have a record right around about the same. 51-31 seems to be like what is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Yeah. I kind of wanted to get TJ's take on this. So I'm just going to pause the show for a second, wait for Steven comes back so we can talk a little bit Sixers basketball. I'm going to stop my mic for a second. Put some music on for a second. All right, welcome back. I'm not sure what happened to TJ. I'll look at it. He can come jump in and talk about the Philadelphia 76ers when he jumps back into the show. Let's talk about the team that was the surprise team in this division, and probably a lot of the people in the NBA last season who didn't have the Toronto Raptors as a playoff team, especially how much fleck they got for taking Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs, which ended up being the right decision, right? But yeah, this is 48-34, obviously coached by the very talented Nick Nurse. And then Fred VanVleet is a starter, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam. Their key reserves, Preston Achua, Otto Porter Jr., Malachi Flynn, Chris Boucher, Kem Birch, Thad Young, and Danilo Blanton. This is a roster, like when you look at it on paper, it's a really super athletic, super deep. OG Anunoby, Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, as athletic at their positions as you have in the NBA. Gary Trent has really turned into a really nice NBA player. Can really shoot the three, can create a little bit off the dribble. He's a good basketball player. Like he just is. VanVleet was an all-star last season. I personally thought that Pascal Siakam should have been the all-star on this team, but I don't hate it. He did have a very good season last year, so good for him. Scotty Barnes is really what the whole potential is here on this particular team. If he continues to grow and develop, if he continues to grow and develop, like he could really be their best player, and he could be the building block piece that they go forward with. Welcome back into the show, TJ. We are on the Toronto Raptors. I was just talking about their starting lineup and moving into their key reserves. You want to give your 2 cents real quick on the Sixers before we start on the Raptors, just real quick?
Yeah, sorry about. I don't know what that was. That was weird and very irritating. Best case scenario, you go to the finals. I'm not having them win it, but because in order to win, you have to get there. So, best case, get to the finals. Worst case, you come up short again, second round, first round exit, depending on the matchup. If you get to the conference finals, then I guess that's a win too. But if they don't at least get to the conference finals, changes are coming to Philly.
For sure. Like whether it be Doc Rivers or Tobias Harris or potentially even James Harden.
Yeah, changes are coming for Philly. That's really all I have to say. Since you, So
moving on to back to the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, I mentioned their starting lineup. I mentioned their key reserves. They're head coached by the talented Nick Nurse. 48 and 34. I was just talking about Scotty Barnes. I think is the real the true piece here to unlock this potential. If you followed any of the Kevin Durant stuff over the offseason, they made him completely unavailable in any trades because they were like, we're not trading Scotty Barnes. This guy's gonna be super good. And they caught a lot of flack, right? When they took, Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs, who was proven was on paper, they were like, oh yeah, this guy's a better prospect than Scotty Barnes, but they've turned out to be right. Scotty Barnes was a better player, at least last season, than Jalen Suggs was, at least for one season,
Yeah, it was it was not well received.
Sure. I mean, but when you have a Yesai Ujiri running that stuff there in Toronto, I mean, the guy gets to get the benefit of the doubt because he's been so good at drafting players and developing and making trades and making decisions. He's just been awesome. Yeah. And they develop players better in Toronto than almost anywhere in the NBA.
Yeah, they have. So when I liken the Scotty Barnes pick to what you call a culture pick. Like Scotty Barnes is going to be a building block for the Toronto Raptors. What I mean by that is if they were to ever decide to move off of Pascal Siakam and move off of OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, the C is on your chest now. This is your team.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and that's with a Fred VanVleet who you paid. And I understand that you paid him, but Scotty Barnes, you're the best player. This is your team. You lead us. But until then, just continue to learn, grow, and all that other good stuff. You have one of the best coaches in the league, and Nick Nurse. We were kind of curious as to how his flow would go once Kawhi Leonard left, and they had a down year. They had a terrible year, right? Not just because Kawhi was gone, but because they couldn't even play in front of their home crowd.
Yeah, right? they had to play in what was it, Tampa that season? Yeah, they had to play in Tampa that season.
Like because of the pandemic and Canada's restrictions were different than here in the U.S. They had to relocate to I think it was Orlando, Tampa, one of them. They had to play.
I think it was Tampa. I don't because Orlando already has a team. I'm pretty sure it was Tampa.
So they had to play in Florida, right? They had to stay at the hotel, all that good stuff. They couldn't sleep in their own bed, none of that, and all that other good stuff. And yeah, this past year was their first game, was their first time playing in front of their fans in a whole year, right? And I don't think people I think that's the thing that people tend to take for granted. We had to go a whole year without watching our favorite teams in person. Right, they still played, but we're at home and it's different, right? When it's a big play happens and it's just empty.
I think I just lost TJ again. Oh, there we go. All right, back.
Yeah, I'm good. You froze on my end, and I think I froze on your end.
Go ahead.
So yeah, they got players. Yeah, they got players that we got to find out what they are. Precious Achua, Delano Banton, who's a hometown kid. I think he's literally from Toronto. And
we'll find out.
I literally think he's from. And same thing with Chris Boucher. Like I wish they had more size. And in terms of size, I mean muscle.
Yeah, I mean those guys are like
Those guys
190
are
pounds soaking wet.
those
But
guys, those guys are thin, but they long. Right,
yep.
they're long. All right, and one of your favorite players, Thaddeus Young, is on this team. Like you love that.
One of my favorites. One of my Izzy loves that as young. I don't necessarily love that as young.
You know you love that Young. It's okay.
No, it's not like Izzy does. He was so upset that we traded him away for. I was like, I can't. I do like that Young though, but not as much as Izzy does, the CEO of Prime Sports World.
What did you have, like? What was your storylines for them? Because I couldn't really think of any.
I mean, it's got to be the development of Scotty Barnes, the development of the players on this roster. I mean, you got to continue to have Pascal Siakam develop into a player that's, you know, at one point he was like, oh, they for sure was going to get traded off this team. OG Anunoby. I mean, they got it's just Scotty Barnes. The truth of matter is Scotty Barnes needs to develop into a good player. Like he needs to continue to grow and develop.
Low key, like the two trade chips really could still happen, right? Siakam and Anunoby, those two dudes could still get traded, right? Especially if the season doesn't go how they expect it to go. Like you're 48-34, what was that, first round?
Yeah, they got bounced by the Sixers in the first round. They went to 6 games.
Excuse me. And so obviously like that was huge because you went finals, which you won. No playoffs at all. Draft Scotty Barnes back to the playoffs, albeit you lost in the first round. You just had a bad draw. You drew Philly. Nobody can stop Joel Embiid.
Nobody anywhere can stop Joel Embiid when he wants.
Nobody anywhere can stop Joel Embiid. You are right.
When he wants to score, he'll score.
In buckets, he will score.
Yeah. Let's talk best and worst case scenario when it comes to Toronto. I think my best case scenario is they're probably like a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's probably their ceiling for sure. Huh?
Yeah. Best case, 5 seed. You get to the second round depending on your matchup. But other than that, like I'm not gonna if you get 5 seed and you get bounced again in the first round, I'm not like quote unquote hitting the panic button. I'm more so going
I think if they were the 5 seed again and they ended up getting bounced in the first round again, I think if I was them, I would seriously consider moving some of the pieces on this roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
So worst case scenario, I think they're a play-in team. You know, worst case scenario, I think it's a play-in team. I think this team they have the probably top 5 coach in the NBA, Nick Nurse, who's going to get them at least into the play-in. Yeah, so they're a play-in team. That's their floor.
That's Nick. So you got what's his name? Taylor Jenkins.
Give me Nick Nurse over Jake Jenkins.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, okay.
Nick Nurse has been nothing short of incredible since he took over that job for.
Okay.
Like he's been that good. Give me Nick Nurse. I'm not sure that's close.
That's group chat conversation. Hey, all right, go ahead. All right.
Moving on to one of the most interesting teams in the NBA, potentially, the Brooklyn Nets, with all the drama that they bring to the table all the time. Starters, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Nicholas Claxton. Key reserves, Patty Mills, Seth Curry, Royce O'Neal, who they traded a first-round pick for before the draft, I think, or right after the draft. TJ Warren, Daron Sharp, Cam Thomas, who balled out a little bit in summer league, looked really good. Markieff Morris, so they signed in free agency, or they may have had him actually. Head coach, obviously Steve Nash. They were 44-38 last season. They got bounced in the first round swept by Boston as the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. This is a team that was at the 1 seed before Kevin Durant went down, and then they basically free-falled from there as Kyrie Irving obviously couldn't play because of the vaccination mandate in New York. And then James Harden obviously just didn't want to be there anymore, so they traded him away. And then the offseason, Kyrie Irving decided to opting into the final year of his contract, and then Kevin Durant saying he wants to be traded a couple days later. I think that Brooklyn had never intended to trade Kevin Durant. They would never. They were never even. They weren't even really taking legit offers, which is why there's when you have a player like Kevin Durant, you would expect teams to be clamoring to try to trade for him. The rumor mill was awfully quiet I don't think Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn was playing. I think they played Kevin Durant for sure. Like they're like, yeah, we have you under contract. We're not. You can say whatever you want. We're not trading you.
The rumor with the rumor mill wasn't quiet. It just got unbelievable. And by unbelievable, I mean like the teams that they were, quote unquote, in the market for Kevin. Like I was done with the Kevin Durant trade talks when they brought up the Wizards. Oh, are the Wizards in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes? No, they're not.
There is a really good. I don't know if you know who AM Hoops is. He's an NBA YouTuber. He's got a video on this Kevin Durant Brooklyn Nets trade stuff, and like it is awesome. I don't know if you watch his stuff, but he is really good. he is really good at his job.
So like obviously, this was by far not even close the most disappointing team in the NBA last season, right? It's not even close.
Oh, I think the Knicks are pretty disappointing. I mean,
No.
The Lakers are pretty.
No. They had three dudes who could go get you 60 on any given night. One forced his way out. The other threw a hissy fit because of a shot. And Kevin Durant Kevin Durant got hurt. It's like Kyrie Irving. It got to the point with Kyrie Irving where it's like, all right, you don't want the vaccine. All right, go home. Just go. Oh, first off, Kyrie Irving, Alex Jones is not the person you want to be quoting.
No, for sure not. Basically, he's in a bit of a really vicious libel case right now.
So, bro, you are not the quote. Like you and Aaron Rodgers, you're not the quote unquote free thinkers that you think you are, because if everybody thinks like you do, guess what that means? You're not a free thinker.
It's true.
That's a very cultish thought process that you have. The Earth is not flat. This has been scientifically proven. I don't know how many times. Literally the reason when you travel from California to Florida and you don't go, you stay flat is because this thing called gravity. It's literal science, bro. Folks in the media are not peons. They're literally doing their job. Pace is doing her job right now because David's looking at her. It's going to get to the point where, dude, your talent is not worth the headache you provide.
It's true. I mean, that's why when they were talking about trading, nobody picked up the phone and wanted to trade for Kyrie Irving.
And Kevin Durant literally fell into the Gobert trap, right? When Minnesota traded what they did to get Rudy Gobert, it's like, you know what, Kevin Durant, you are more valuable than Rudy Gobert. However, I am not gutting my whole team.
I think their ownership was like, hey, like we're not letting these players call the shots anymore. Like this is my team. I'm not like you can say whatever you want in the media. I'm not trading you at all.
And kudos to Joe Tsai for sticking to his guns.
Yeah.
All right, Ben Simmons, dude, I don't just play.
For sure, for real. Get on the floor.
I gotta watch that interview you did. I forgot whose podcast you went on, but I gotta listen to that because you finally did what the folks have been asking you. Like you, and did I freeze again?
Yeah, you're good now though.
Like you finally opened up about what went wrong and what happened, yada yada woo woo. And Austin Rivers talking about, man, y'all really believe this, dude? Dude, you are literally. There was a time span for you that you were literally only in the NBA because your dad signed you. Have many seats.
Yeah, right. Please. Yeah, I'm not even sure where he's at right now. He plays on the Timberwolves. He got signed by the Timberwolves.
Okay, I thought last time we heard something about Austin Rivers, he was in Denver.
I think he's been bouncing around the league. So,
Steve Nash, you are not coaching for your job, but hey, man, anything.
No, he for sure is. This season gets off to a rocky start, he will get fired.
Not during the middle of the season, I don't think.
He will.
I don't think so.
If they're not in the top 8 of the Eastern Conference by the time Christmas rolls around, he'll get fired.
They will be. The only issue I have, so like Cam Thomas, like you said, Cam Thomas balled down in summer league, right? Cam Thomas also had a game where he literally killed the Knicks. They were getting killed by the Knicks, right? Brooklyn comes back. Who hits the dagger? Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas goes to summer league, balls out, and they're like, "Why didn't you play that much last season?" And he's like, "I don't know. Ask Steve Nash." Like straight face, just like that. And it's like, damn.
Yeah, dude, he's for sure out coaching on his job, dude. Like, they never should have hired him. Let's be real. They should have hired. I know they were kind of in a bind after Kenny Atkinson quit in the middle of the season 2 years ago, but they should have hired somebody with some real moxie who could coach this team. Because he doesn't have the cachet. You need a guy who's going to be coaching Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and all of these personalities that he has to manage all the time.
The reason, like the Kyrie Irving aspect, I don't get, but Kevin Durant, like he was with Kevin Durant in Golden State the 2 years or the 2 years.
Yeah. 3 years he was there.
3 years he was there.
Whatever, 4 years he was there, or 3.
Yeah. So Steve Nash is on that. He was on that staff with Kerr and them. Like so, that's where the hire for Steve Nash came from, right? You made Kevin Durant comfortable, so we're gonna hire somebody that you are comfortable with, because I don't think he wants to play under what's his name, Scott Brooks anymore, so like it was really like
I just think they should have hired somebody who has some actual, as an actual head coach.
But the issue you have with that is,
but I don't know who you'd dust off though. So you know.
Right. That's it's like who do you because it's like who do you get? It's like who do you get to, you know, wrangle, like you say, at least those two dudes, right? Especially like because Kyrie Irving is like he's Steve 9 a.m. Kyrie Irving's like, why can't it be noon? Like he's that type of dude. It's like, man, because practice is at 9. I said it's at 9. God damn it!
Kyrie Irving could like literally retire. Like if Kyrie Irving came out and retired tomorrow, would you even be surprised?
No,
like for real. Like if you're just like, I'm done. Like I wouldn't even be shocked. Let's talk best and worst case scenario.
Best case, you gotta win the chip. Anything short of a finals appearance is the worst case scenario. You gotta win the chip.
I 100% agree with you on that.
Because Kevin Durant, like he hear the chatter, and we know he hear it, right? You know, Steph is 1-1 without you now. Oh, you needed the Warriors. They didn't need you. Stop it. Yes, they did.
He was the best player on that team by far.
And it wasn't close. It wasn't close. Like you've won one playoff series since you've been in Brooklyn. Like he hears all this stuff.
And not to mention, like he cares way too much about it. Like his ego is just so fragile all the time.
This is what, and I've told you this before. This is what I will always defend Kevin Durant on. It's not caring too much. You are not finna talk crazy to me any kind of way. You're not finna talk crazy to me, or you're not finna talk crazy about me any kind of way and expect me to not say nothing. That's why, like him and Shannon Sharp are at odds. Shannon Sharp literally blocked him on Twitter because Shannon Sharp get on Undisputed every morning and he say a bunch of nonsense. And when Kevin Durant finally called him out, this is what Shannon Sharp said. Well, let's talk in private. Like, no, and KD was like, no, you disrespected me in public. Don't come to me talk about don't disrespect me in public and then hey, let's talk about this in private. Like, no, we finna talk about this right here now. Right now, on the same platform that you disrespected me on.
I don't necessarily disagree with you there. Yeah, their best case scenario. Yeah, they win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Their worst case scenario is anything other than that, because this roster is going to be like Kyrie Irving's a free agent. Kevin Durant, I'm sure, is going to request a trade again. By the way, for real, check out that AM Hoop studio on the Kevin Durant stuff. It is fascinating.
Send it to me.
I'll send it to you later. Moving on to the last team in this division, the New York Knickerbockers, head coached by the ones that we know very well, Mr. Tom Thibodeau. Record last season, 37-45. Stone's throw away from being the 4 seed in Eastern Conference just a season ago. In the offseason, they signed Jalen Brunson to a big offer sheet, and he's now their starting point guard. Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, who they signed to a big extension a month ago, basically. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Derrick Rose, key reserves, Quentin Grimes, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein, Emmanuel Quigley, Cam Reddish, Jericho Sims, and Miles McBride was their first-round pick this year. It might have been a second-round pick, actually, because they traded away all their first-round picks. Let's talk about the major storyline when it comes to the New York Knicks, and it's not getting Donovan Mitchell. What?
It is though.
I mean, it's the only thing that matters when it comes to the Knicks. I mean, because adding Jalen Brunson to this roster, I don't think elevates them to, especially with whatever we're going to get out of Julius Randle this season. He went from being most improved to basically unplayable. Like for, so like obviously Donovan Mitchell wanted to play in New York, and like everyone was like, oh yeah, he's going to end up in New York. That was just going to be a done deal, and then he gets traded to the Cavs, and there was a lot of stuff like where the Knicks were like, yeah, like they didn't want to include certain players. Like you should, if you're the Knicks, you have to make sure you make this trade, because if you get Donovan Mitchell and you have Jalen Brunson, you become a destination for free agents again.
Mm-hmm.
Because now. I'm not sure you are. Like the lure of the Mecca is for sure faded because they're not putting a good product on the floor.
Hey, bro,
and I think Tom Thibodeau might be the most overrated coach in the league.
It's not faded, David. It's completely gone. It's gone. All right. I call it. You know what I call it? I call it the curse of James Dolan. All right. They were supposed to get all these dudes. They were supposed to make all these moves, these splashes. Didn't happen. Like the Zion draft, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, we're gonna get the number 1 overall pick. We're gonna get Zion. We're gonna get Kevin Durant. Yeah, none of it happened. Like none of that happened. The free agents they thought they were gonna get never came. Like that one year, they signed Taj Gibson and a bunch of other like third-tier free agents. It's like, yeah, this is what you are. James Dolan.
I mean, they were supposed to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Neither of them went there.
Neither of them went there. They went to
yeah, like so.
And so, like your Tom Thibodeau dislike is otherworldly.
It's immense.
It's like it's in another galaxy, but it's warranted. You know, I'm not going to disagree. I've tried to talk you off that ledge. I'm done.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
I'm done with that.
I just don't think he runs good stuff. Like I think his teams win a lot of regular season games because they just play harder and he plays them a billion minutes and like he runs people into the ground. And by the time you get into the playoffs, all of your players are so spent, none of them can play.
Yeah. So it's and like James Dolan's the type of dude like, bro, you don't kick out legends, bro. You kicked out Charles Oakley, bro. Charles Oakley walked in for a game, you kicked him out. Spike Lee has been using the same entrance. He's been the season ticket holder for 30 years. He's been using the same entrance to walk into the Garden for 30 years because Spike Lee is Spike Lee. He ain't finna walk through the turn. He ain't finna walk through the turnpikes like a regular fan. Like he's Spike Lee. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you tell him, "Yo, you can't use this entrance no more." Why? Because you can't. Like, no, that's not how that works.
No, like, for sure not. Also, James Dolan, if you ever watch, you ever want to have some cringeworthy moments and you enjoy anything that's cringeworthy. His band, JD and the Straight Shot, is full of just the cringe.
Like, wait. He has a band?
Yeah, it's called JD and the Straight Shot. They have a song called Better Find a Church. It's he's in a band. It's a country band.
Okay, yep, that's that. And I can't like I go back to the one video. Like there's a fit. Like he's walking past a group of fans. Like the fans are like up top, and like they're leaning over, and they're like Dolan, and he looks up, sell the team. He calls security to kick him out.
Oh yeah, he's in a band called JD and the Straight Shot. So
it's like, dude, you're a child.
It's a 4-piece band, including 2 guitars and a violin, and he just sings.
All right, so I don't know what the Knicks are going to do, man. Like I really don't. You got dudes on this team, like you gotta find out Cam Reddish. What are you?
I think people have been asking what Cam Reddish, what are you since he got drafted.
And it's so unfair to him because at Duke he was a monster. Like at Duke he was a monster, and then he goes to Atlanta. Doesn't crack the rotation. It's just like why?
Well, I mean, he hasn't really been. He wasn't really healthy there either. But
and he goes to the Knicks, and it's like he should definitely play more here than he did there. Because at least when he was in Atlanta, when they made the moves that they made, then it's like, okay, I understand why you're not playing, right? Like Bogdanovich, Gallinari, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Herter,
all those guys, Lou Williams.
Yeah, like I get why you weren't playing there. You come here, like you got traded here now. There's no reason for you not to play now, right? Like there's no reason for you to not be in a second unit with Derrick Rose, you literally at the 2, or some like Quigley
or the 3. Whatever. Quentin Grimes or something to that mix. Obi Toppin at the 4 or the 5, who has been not all good since he got in the NBA. I know he's still young. He's still got some time, but yeah.
Like, there's no reason for you to not be in the rotation in New York at this point, right? Jericho Sims, I saw you at like it's nasty how athletic you are.
Yeah, for real.
It's not like dude, like it is. Like, it's disgusting. I thought Tom Thibodeau was gone. I thought
I thought so too.
They lost a game. I forgot what game. I think it was that next game. Right? They blew that lead, and I'm on Twitter. I'm like, and that was the final nail in the coffin. That was the coaching career of Tom Thibodeau.
Or where they choked away that game against the Phoenix Suns, like after like Julius Randle got ejected.
I'm not putting that on Tom Thibodeau. I'm putting that solely on Julius Randle, because it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what is your issue? What is your problem?
Yeah, like he just had a meltdown, and like they basically the game was over.
What is your problem? Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson, I think
4 years, $68 million, or 4 years, $72 million.
Yeah. He got he was linked to
4 years, $60 million.
He was linked to the Bulls for sure. He was linked to, I think, the Lakers as well, and another team wanted Mitchell Robinson, but he re-signed in New York. Shot blocker, right? We know what Mitchell Robinson is. Just stay healthy.
You can shoot a shot blocker. You can shoot the 3 at a pretty decent clip. So,
So, RJ, I think it's established. RJ Barrett, this is your team. You're the best player on the team.
Yep.
You are the best player on the team, right? And RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, the 3 lefties. Can anybody go right? Can somebody go right?
No, nobody can. They can't. No.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, too bad. Let's talk best and worst case scenario when it comes to New York Knicks. Best case scenario, I think they're a play-in team.
Yes.
I just can't imagine like looking at the standings. Like you tell me who they're better than. Hold on 1 second. We go to the stand. All right, we go. Boston, no. Brooklyn,
no.
Philadelphia,
no.
Toronto,
no. That's close though.
That's close. Cavs,
no.
Hawks.
No,
they're not as good at the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs are like.
I was gonna say like the only caveat is like I just got to see I just got to see the product first before I come to.
It's true, but I've seen the product in New York. I don't need to see it.
I don't like
it. The Bulls.
No.
Depending on Lonzo stuff, I think that's close.
Even without Lonzo, come on, bro.
The Bulls are a playing team without Lonzo.
But like, even without Lonzo, they are better than the Knicks. Come on, man.
It's close.
Come on, man.
It's closer than it should be.
How?
The Hawks.
How? No. How is it closer than it should be? How?
Because I just have more. I just don't love the rest. Like the Bulls, like they've gone all in, but Vucevic has been kind of not good since he got to Chicago. Zach LaVine.
Vucevic is better than Mitchell Robinson. DeMar DeRozan is better than everybody on this team.
It's true. All right, fine. All right, fine. Give me the Bulls. I always said the Bulls, but maybe it's not that close. The Hawks, no. That's I just literally just mentioned 9 teams. 9 teams. Yeah, and then the only one, so Charlotte finished with a better record than them last season. I think they'll be better than Charlotte.
That's close.
Probably no, it's not, dude. Charlotte got worse this offseason. I know we talked about the Miles Bridges stuff, but they didn't replace him with anyone. Like they're not going to be better than they were last season, which was they were 43-39, and then got destroyed in the play-in. The Wizards.
They're better than the Wizards. I think they're better than the Wizards.
I think that's close.
Like the issue with Washington, like we talked about this, is like outside of Bradley Beal, I'm not worried about anybody else consistently.
Yeah, I mean they do have. Markel Fultz have broke his toe.
Talk about somebody who can't catch a break.
Yeah, for sure. Worst case scenario. Yeah, worst case. What is the worst case scenario? If like we're talking about best case scenario, they're like a borderline play-in team. What's the worst case scenario for this team?
That, what they are right now.
Oh, dude, it could be worse. For sure, it could be worse. But we haven't really talked about the fact that they're going to probably have some sort of tampering charge on them at some point with the Jalen Brunson.
Oh my God!
So they're gonna probably
forgot all about that.
They're probably gonna lose a second round pick for it and get a bunch of fines. Yeah, their worst case scenario is that this is just a team that doesn't particularly mesh well and doesn't play well. And when you look back at it and you had the opportunity to trade for Donovan Mitchell and like really upgrade this roster and make this a destination for free agents, and you look at what they've done with like fumbling the Donovan Mitchell situation and overpaying for Jalen Brunson. I don't think he's worth what they're going to be paying him for the next 4 years. Like he's a fine player, but I'm just not sure he's worth what they're going to be like paying him like $25 million a year.
Again, like that has to go. That has to start up front, man. Like,
yeah,
that has to be, that has to be like a Dolan issue, and whoever works beside him, like that's the issue. All right, like you haven't been able to get a marquee free agent since Carmelo Anthony, and
they had to trade the house for him.
And you had and that wasn't even a free agent signing. Like you had to trade for him, bro.
Really, they traded like that trade package. You go back and look at it, like it's wild to think about all the pieces they trade away. And that trade actually ended up with Jokic on the team for the Nuggets.
And they low key, it wasn't said, but like they pissed Carmelo Anthony off because it's like, no, I wanted to play.
Yeah. So, I wanted to play with Danilo Gallinari. I wanted to play with like when you trade away your entire roster for one guy. Yeah, obviously, it's gonna be tough. Their worst case scenario is they have like 30 wins and Tom Thibodeau's fired as the head coach of this team, and then they have to figure out trying to trade away Julius Randle next offseason to try to like salvage something because for sure.
I just want my boy Derrick Rose to play meaningful basketball, and he's not going to do it in New York.
Well, he should get traded somewhere else, so which I think he probably will. But yeah, that's been our Atlantic season preview. Man, I never updated this graphic. Oh, I hate when that happens.
Oh, I see. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's right there though. Atlantic.
Not okay. It's not okay.
All right, OCD much? God,
dude, I just take this stuff very seriously.
No, I got you. Again, I just want to apologize for the technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. I got to do some configuration. I'll figure that out. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. It's not a big deal. It happens. But this is David Huffman right there. This is TJ Hopkins. And hopefully you guys all enjoy the football action. We got about an hour or 50 minutes before kickoff. I've been David Huffman right there. This is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ.
And after this, we have one more. Just one, right? Pacific?
Yep. Lakers, Suns, Warriors, Clippers, and Kings.
All right.
So, and then we're going to be doing some more NBA preview stuff, talking about MVP. We're going to bring back GOAT Talk actually next weekend. So if you guys have missed that segment, we're going to be bringing that back.
We're doing two or we're doing one?
No, we're doing two. I'll get one for sure.
All right.
I will see you guys all tomorrow when we break down what's going on in the Sunday of football. I've done my first parlay today, so hopefully maybe I'll get some money. We'll see.
Good luck.
I doubt it. We'll see. What's the jelly beans? We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. You all have a good night. Peace out.
See you, man.